Hey, what's up, guys? It's Topics here, and today I'm going to be discussing a topic that's very popular in the M plus scene, and that is resilient keys. If you guys remember, I made a video about this over a month ago. I'll post a little picture of it right now, where I did a resilient key app, and a good portion of this video was actually me defending resilient keys, saying that there are more pros than cons, and actually enjoying the system. But funny enough, I have changed my mind and my stance on this. And this video, I'm going to go over why. Um, as it may seem a shock that, only 5, 6 weeks ago, I had a different stance on this. So let's get into it. So I need to lay some groundwork. So first of all, we're looking at The War Within Season 3. This is NA. Title is 3865, okay? And I have to show you guys this because I'm trying to make a point. So 3865 is title, right? So let's go. I'm just gonna pick a color that you can just easily see. So 3865 is title. Let's increase this a little bit. Okay, so this is current. Now, if we go back here and look at timed run leaderboards, this is like the top team in the world. Okay. Actually, I need to go NA because I need the proper gap. Okay. All right. So here we go. So actually, I probably should just go like this. Go like this. All right. Drogo, top tank NA 4087. Okay. So now let's go back. And we're going to put. Actually, no, I'm not going to type this. This is actually not what I want. All right. I'm just going to draw this. So, actually, no, this is bad. So 4087, okay, is rank 1 IO and NA, okay? And title is 3865, all right? So keep this in mind. Now, we're going to go to a previous season without Resil keys. So let's just go to Dragonflight Season 3, okay? Actually, you know what? I'm going to prove an even stronger point. Let's literally go to the War Within Season 1. All right. This is literally 2 expansions ago, okay? Or sorry, not 2 expansions, 2 seasons ago. That's all that this is. 3458 was title in NA, okay? Now, let's go look at rank 1 IO people, all right? All right, was Yoda rank 1? No. All right, rank 1 Dwarf Go, okay? This is Drogo as well, pretty sure. So, 3773, okay? So we had 3458 and 3773. All right. So this is the difference here. So in season 1 of The War Within, this was rank 1 IO NA and this was title NA. 315 point difference. Now right now we have this as rank 1 IO and this as title. 222. So there's like 90 points difference between title and rank 1, and as you guys know, that's basically an entire key level on every dungeon. So right now, there being 2 key levels difference between rank 1 and title, there used to be about 3 key level differences between rank 1 and title. And so we see that the gap between title and rank 1 is starting to get smaller and smaller. And Resil is a big proponent of that. And I'm going to bring this back up again later, but I just wanted to display this first. So I'm going to talk about the pros and cons, in my opinion, of Resil and how those numbers I just showed you play into this. So here's the pros. Save time doing homework keys. Everyone knows this. This is probably like the biggest one that's mentioned is it's a time save. You have to do less homework. Number two is you get to test strategy and practice tech on higher keys. So especially if you have a Resil key or someone else you know has a Resil key, you can run that back as many times as you want. You can try different pulls. You can practice tech. Whatever you want to do, it enables you to do that. The caveat, or I guess not the caveat, but my counterpoint would be you've always been able to do this just on one key level lower. If you're doing a homework key, likelihood of you depleting that if you practice it a lot is very low. So you could always practice tech and strategies. It just hasn't always been on an IO key. And I don't know why you would even want to practice this on an IO key anyway. This has only been a thing since Resil's in place. You know, you want to get this down on a lower key first before you start doing it on a higher key. If you just randomly send that on a higher key, you're probably going to deplete a lot. But if you can get it down to the point where you're like 100% successful doing that strategy on a lower key, you're going to most likely have a better chance to succeed when you try it on a higher key. So that's kind of my counter argument. It's a safeguard for toxicity, disconnects, lag, or first pull wipes. Nobody wants to get an IO key, go in there, someone disconnects, the keys over, or you have someone toxic that just leaves, or maybe you go in and you mess up the first pull and you wipe on the first pull. You don't even get to see the key at all. That feels really bad. I definitely understand that. And you also get to help out your friends, right? Maybe you have some friends that joined the game late. They were on vacation, or maybe they just came back after Turbo Boost, and instead of them grinding from the beginning, you just start feeding them some of your Resil keys to get them, up to your level of play a lot easier. So these are all pros. I couldn't really think of anything else. You guys let me know if you can. But we're gonna go down to the cons, and as you might notice from a month and a half ago or however long ago that video was, I've come up with some new ones. So first of all, stuck in prison. So especially depending on how busy keys are, what time you're playing at, there may not be a whole lot to do other than your own key. And if your own key is Resil, you might just be slamming that thing 30-40 times, and that doesn't feel good because it does feel like you're stuck in a prison, like you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And to play off this point, the season is dying out and people are getting bored a lot faster because they're reaching their peak faster because they don't have to try as many times to get to their peak due to Resil. So Resil is a big proponent of making the game more seasonal because of the fact that people get burnt out and they reach their cap a lot sooner. And I think this is inherently bad because you want people playing the game longer. You don't want them burning out and quitting. This is, in my opinion, the worst one. And this is probably actually the only thing, I wouldn't say the only thing, this is the main thing that made me change my mind. Sales and boosts are absolutely out of control. And because of that, it's inflated title, which you've seen in the score I showed you. Title's like 100 points higher than it usually is in non-Resil seasons. And it has players in keys that they shouldn't be because of the sales and boosts. Not going to name any names, but I know a lot of people who bought 20 Resil from the top NA teams, and then they literally just funneled it to all their friends and all their communities and just sat there in the same key for like a month, like doing like hundreds and hundreds of attempts. I'm not talking about 10, 20, 30 attempts. I'm talking about hundreds. And so this is out of control. And because so many people are getting boosted, title's getting inflated because they would have normally been 100 IO lower, but they're sitting in there having 200 attempts until they finally get it, and it's inflating title. Which means because they sat there and got boosted and got 200, 300, 400 attempts on a key they normally wouldn't have timed, now they're in keys that they shouldn't be. This is why, if you're someone who hasn't gotten boosted, hasn't paid for sales or anything like that, such as me, you'll go into a key, you'll have someone the same IO as you, and for some reason they're just not performing. And then I'll go into another key with someone I know, and they're just like completely gapping this person. Like I've went into keys with two people the same IO, and one person will be doing 2 to 3 mil overall more than the next guy, and I'm like, what is going on? Why is there such skill disparity in these high keys? And these cons are a big reason why. It's because these players, legitimately hate me for saying this, but they're just not skilled enough to be in these keys. They shouldn't be, but they are because they got boosted. And Now, of course, you have to be a decent player. You have to be somewhat competent to even get boosted in the first place. I'm not saying these players are bots. I'm not saying they're noobs. All that I'm saying is that you can tell when you compare a player that's been boosted and fed a lot of Resil keys to a player that hasn't, because there's just a massive skill disparity. You know, especially with DPS players, their damage overall, maybe as a healer, their HPS, their ability to keep their team alive. Like, you do notice these things between boosted players and not boosted players. So, and then, you know, obviously it encourages lazy and unfocused play. You know, hey, you know, if I mess up, it's not a big deal. So yeah, I'm tired, I should go to bed, but who cares, because if we deplete, it's not going to matter anyway. And the problem with that is it actually creates bad habits. So now you're used to not caring about a key as much. You're used to feeling like there's no stocks. So you're not playing for anything. So that when you actually go into IO key that matters, it can sometimes be hard to change that attitude. I think when the game encourages this, it's bad. The game should always encourage playing your best and smartest and most optimal at all times, because that's what's going to make you a better player. So now that we looked at these pros and cons and we go back here, this is what's happening this season. So 4887 is rank 1, 308065 title. This is how it's getting inflated. Normally, these players would be at like 3765. They'd be stuck because they can't time these keys, either because they don't have enough attempts or they're not skilled enough. And these players up here, they're boosting, selling, or feeding these players a ton of attempts, and it's inflating all of them up to here. So this is what's happening in the M plus ecosystem right now, and it's just really, really turning me off, because it's like I have no way of telling who's good or not anymore unless I actually have a ton of keys experience with them. Before, IO used to mean something. Like, if you used to have title IO, like, there wasn't as much skill disparity. Like, all these players were good, but now it's like hit or miss. Like, I could get somebody that's title IO that is just so much worse than some other players at title level, and the skill disparity is just huge because of this inflation here. So I know a lot of other people feel the same way as me, and this is why I've changed my mind on Resil, that I do not think it's good for the game. What's the alternative? I think the alternative would just simply be this. This, in my opinion, would fix most of the problems that people think are fixed with Resil. It would definitely save you some time doing homework keys. It would definitely provide a safeguard for this, and you probably still could help your friends. I don't know if you'd be risking testing strategies in tech, but I think it would actually solve these other three things. And so this is what I said before they actually introduced Resil. I thought this was the best option because I thought that like no depletes on a key was way too aggressive. But I think no matter what your key level, you should have 2 to 3 charges. Now, I'm not, 2 or 3, it is what it is, but like at least if you went in and someone was toxic, or you had someone disconnect or their computer froze, you didn't lose that key, right? Because that's unavoidable. So I think, like, without a doubt, keys should have 2 charges, maybe 3. Because then even if you deplete it and you had a key you didn't need and someone messed up, you'd still have a couple tries at your homework key. This would likely prevent your key from depleting into the abyss, like going from like a 15 all the way down to a 10. But at least you wouldn't be stuck in prison. This would still encourage good play because you only know you have a couple chances. And although sales and boosts have always existed in WoW, they would continue to exist in this system. It would definitely be less prevalent. Like, I really don't think these like 21 and 20 Resil teams would be boosting nearly as many people if their keys only had 2 to 3 charges, because it just wouldn't be worth their time. There'd be a lot of groups that they would get into that would just brick all 2-3 attempts right away, and then they're done. And so they spent all this time forming, all this time communicating with whoever they're boosting or selling to, and organizing it just to get in and have it be done right away. That's a big time sink and a time waste. So again, yes, there would still be boosts, there'd still be sales. It would just definitely be way less. So I still think this is the best alternative and the best fix that would address the most concerns, but not completely, destroy the game in a sense. So that's my little rant of why I've changed my stance on resilient keys. And I think, yeah, as I've pushed higher and gotten well above title, I think my opinion has changed because I've just seen a lot more degeneracy. And so, yeah, I'm sure this video will get a lot of hate, but I'm sure there's also some people that agree with me. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Have a good one. Peace. Thank you so much to all of the Patreon members. It's because of your support that I'm able to continue making World of Warcraft and Mythic Plus tank content. I really appreciate it.